Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Retro Sentai Wrap-Up, the show here on the Illuminerdi, where we talk about some of the older seasons of Super Sentai. We started with Kyōryū Sentai Jetman. Now we're moving forward into Kyōryū Sentai Zyuranger. I am Bryce West, an editor for the Illuminerdi.com, and these are our other hosts.
Yo.
And somebody's gonna go.
As you're probably well aware, I usually do Sentai wrap up. Henshin Esu always here with the awesome Sentai hype, and also I would just like to say as well, it's great to be on a particular show because obviously it's cool seeing all the latest stuff from Zyuranger, but it is also cool to also go back to a season like Zyuranger because of all the references are generally like thrown out in all seasons generally, but because like obviously commemorative anniversary season means that we get some stuff from Zyuranger put into Zyuranger, so It's really awesome. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
There we go. Yeah.
After that long-winded intro, hi, I'm Ian. Hi, I'm Ian. I'm back.
There we go.
Gosh, this is my first episode for Zyuranger.
Yeah, I know.
So,
yeah, and I don't know if you guys. Well, I guess people watching at home. I guess you might not have noticed we're not live.
No.
This is just a premiere, but I guess you could still chat amongst each other in the chat if you want to. This is kind of weird for us because we're just recording this, so I didn't even know. Like it was weird starting this, because we haven't.
Exactly.
I don't think we've ever done a recorded version of this show.
I think we did it once.
Maybe.
I think we did it once, and
yeah, I think it was Jetman as well.
Yeah.
Obviously not Zyuranger because
because we just started. Yeah, but
it was like midway through, I believe. I think it was midway through when you started doing you just done that one episode where it was like covering 3 episodes, but wasn't live. So.
Yeah, maybe. But regardless, welcome. This is kind of weird.
Welcome.
We don't have a chat, so I don't know. This might be a little bit shorter. I don't really know how this is gonna go because, like I said, if we have done one, it's been a while since we pre-recorded, and I just realized that I've kind of got a continuity error with our banners. I have Bryce West, Ian Klingler, and just Bryn for Bryns. So I guess you don't get to know Bryn's last name. I guess whatever.
Hey, it's on all the articles I do.
I know. So I don't know why I did that different for Bryns, but I guess I'll get that fixed next time. Next time. That's gonna bug me now. But anyway, so yeah, I guess before we go into the episode, since this is you guys' first time talking about Zyuranger, I guess we'll kind of recap your thoughts so far since it's been so long since you got. Well, Bryn, this is your first time, and then Ian has been since the manga episode since you were on. Yeah. So I guess we'll start with Ian. What are your thoughts on Zyuranger so far?
It is a huge shift from Jeff
Man.
I'm pretty sure that's somewhere.
to Zyuranger. I mean, you go from a show that's very super serious in Jetman to a very childish season in Zyuranger, and I could really see why North America, like Saban, wanted to use Zyuranger rather than Jetman because it really appealed more to a younger audience.
Yeah,
and so I don't know. It's a very weird. It was a very weird start, and it just kept getting weirder to continue.
I liked the start. I thought the start was fine, but then it just kept getting worse.
It just kept getting weirder.
Yeah, I mean, it's not horrible. Like, I don't hate it, but it's just like Jetman is like the creme de la creme of Sentai seasons, and then I think Zyuranger is probably just gonna end up being like one of the most okay Sentai seasons. So I mean, Bryn, I think you've been into Super Sentai a lot longer than Ian and I, because Jetman was our first season that we watched in full. So what are your kind of thoughts on Zyuranger? Because you've seen the whole thing, right?
Yeah, well, because obviously it's way different than Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because there's more of a mystical kind of element to it rather than a kind of sci-fi twist.
Yeah.
So obviously, in general, dinosaurs does appeal to children more than maybe adults, but because they're obviously having that involvement in such a way, I think when you're going from super serious to the next season, like, you don't want to recreate the same sort of concept you had before, because otherwise you end up having that situation where, well, which one's better? If they're basically the same, then it's hard to have something that does better than the one that you've seen before. And that's always the issue. Creating a successor is a lot harder if you're redoing what you've already done. Yeah. And I think Power Rangers had the same problem. Especially when they were going from Turbo to in space, you could see straight off the bat how silly gimmicks and then going to serious has an effect. So trying to go from serious to something else that's also serious is quite of a stretch to do. Every season generally has its own aesthetic, and it's better to have it refreshing rather than recreating what you've already done.
I think the weird thing with Zyuranger is that it wants to be serious but also not. Like, I don't think Zyuranger really knows what it wants to be, because it tries to be serious with the sort of mystical elements of it and like the mythology of it, but then you insert the kid of the week, where it's just like, oh, we have to have this like 10-year-old heavily involved in the plot every episode, and that really kind of, I don't know what not dumbs it down, but I don't know, it makes it less serious. And so I feel like it still wants to be kind of serious like Jetman, but then they added the kid element into it, which then makes it not. So it's just like, who are they targeting, in this? I just don't really know, like, who the target audience for Zyuranger is.
Yeah, well, I suppose the concept is trying to involve everyone. Obviously, at this point, it's the 12th season of Super Sentai.
16th.
So it's rolling on for 16th, yeah. So it has rolled on for a bit, already having like another anniversary season and whatnot. But when you consider that stuff in Japan,
I love how we're going like, it's been going on for a little bit, like as if like 16 is like a small number.
Because they're in the 40th anniversary now.
We're on season 45. Yeah. So, but continue. Yeah,
sorry, 45. I suppose with having sort of like these seasons, you want to appeal to both, like, your audience that you had from the start as well as your new audience. But it's not like they're just going, oh, this has got kids in it, we're not exactly explaining why. They're actually using it in a story concept, because it is what Bandora is basically targeting, is just children. So it does make sense with what they're trying to go with, and it is different. Like, you've had kids appear in multiple places in Super Sentai as victims in these fights, but never has it really sort of been a focus that kids are the main target until this season. Mm-hmm. So obviously, kids have always been mixed in some way. Kids love their heroes, and all the themes that come up. But yeah, I think this one just delivers a whole new concept that people probably not even familiar with. Like, although it does have its silliness, like good like shows in general, especially from Japan, there's always that blend of comedy with action and drama. It's all meshed into one. It's not as clear as a pure definition of what category it's in, unlike most stuff you see in the West. So yeah, I think Zyuranger is one of those like big seasons where they put in a lot of different stuff in, because they know already that they've got a killer concept that people are going to love and buy toys for.
Yeah, I was watching these episodes this week, and it finally just dawned on me. I don't know why this is the first time I've ever had this thought, but it's just like, watching Zyuranger and knowing how big Mighty Morphin is here in the States, like, I just wondered to myself, what, like, the Japanese people must be going like, what the hell is the Americans obsession with Zyuranger? Like, like, because it's like the most, like, I think, Zyuranger is kind of like regarded as one of the more bland seasons, and it's just like I don't think it's like super highly regarded in Japan. So I just kind of wondered like what they think of it being so popular here in the States, because it's just like Zyuranger isn't like the greatest season of Super Sentai ever, but here in America, I mean, it was Mighty Morphin, so it's like our Go Ranger. So
yeah, I suppose that just kind of shows you what happens if you dress it differently.
Yeah.
Because obviously, the toys and stuff speak for themselves. You've always got you've already got the dinosaur toys and whatnot fixed into it. But then when you sort of wrap it around different characters, different plots, different sort of background in general, obviously because it's an alien that's given these powers to teenagers rather than, people being from villages who then get basically cryogenic frozen put to sleep mystically in some form and then reawaken in the modern day. It's really such a different sort of like take on the same thing. And I think Power Rangers itself was such a huge concept that I'm sure that people in Japan have probably watched the show, maybe even have some sort of weird dub over somehow.
Yeah,
in
I think they do actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can easily watch both Power Rangers and Zyuranger and love both for two different reasons, because although they have the same stuff, in general, you always love the concepts and the characters. That's what you get to know rather than the actual, items they use themselves.
Yeah. Right. So, I guess we can get into these episodes. I guess I just realized we haven't said where Blackwing is. So he's doing an audition. Is that what he said? He said some sort of casting call. So
yeah, casting call.
So yeah, he's got an audition going on right now, and I don't think we ever actually explained why we're doing this pre-recorded either. I don't remember. I think all of us are pretty much busy. Well, Bryn, obviously, I don't know if you noticed, but he's not American, and so so he's in a completely different time zone than the rest of us. So that's why he hasn't, because we wanted him to join like right as Zyuranger started, but we've been having trouble kind of working out the time zone issues. So hopefully we can find a solution to that here soon. But and then Ian and I are actually moving. So we're into the same apartment. What? Yeah, it's crazy. So we're gonna be busy. Yeah, and then maybe even the next weekend. I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah.
And then I don't remember what Blackwing said he was doing, but he's busy too. So yeah, we're doing this pre-recorded. So I guess we're almost 14 minutes in, so we might as well start talking about the episodes.
People might start leaving. Quick, talk about the episodes.
Yeah. So Ian, I think you're starting us off with episode I've already forgot, but it was
11.
It's My Master.
It's My Master.
Yeah.
Episode 11, My Master. Around a period, you're the
What?
So
what? Are you
around
good?
a period,
Did you have
good.
What?
Okay. So I'm reading off of the wiki because I wanted to read what the plot said. It said around a pier near the coast, and I was like, that's not right. It's supposed to say coast.
Oh.
So yeah, she says cost. So around a pier near the coast, a fishing line shoots down from the sky, so it lands in the nearby water. The fisherman is revealed to be Totpat, casting the moon. Wait, that's not what I was reading. There we go. Okay. Finally. I was reading the wrong thing. Hang on. Magic lamp found by Totpat and Bookback ends up in the hands of children who befriend the genie within, even as Bandora targets him for her usage. It's been a month. Give me a break. Finally back. Okay. Now time for the episode. All right. So, as I mentioned before, Totpat and Bookback are fishing in the sea, and apparently the magic fishing rod can hook like anything of treasure. So they get this genie lamp, and so they rub it, and then up appears Jin, the lamp fairy. And so all of a sudden it cuts to basically a bunch of rock places and all that. And so Zyurangers are there, and apparently they were challenged to a fight by Totpat and Bookback. And so they then bring out Jin and decide to say, "Hey, destroy the Zyurangers." And he's like, "As you wish, my master," because whoever holds the lamp is in control of Jin. So he starts defeating the Zyurangers until Geki pulls out his blaster and fires the lamp out of Totpat and sends the lamp flying. And so now the genie goes away and everybody is confused. So finally it lands near some children. So some children pick it up and some children.
Plot twist.
Wow, children in Zyuranger. Wow. So it was weird because they found it and they're like, "Oh man, look at this lamp!" And so then it cuts to them in a warehouse. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, I never even made 2 and 2. Yeah, what were they doing
in the warehouse?
That's kind of sus. Not gonna lie.
And so they rub it, and they're like, and so Jin appears. He's like, "I'm your master." And so they're like, "Okay, we're not sure if he's good or not." And so one of the boys is just like, "I want a sports car," and appears a sports car, and all the kids are like,
"I was just like, what is he gonna do with that? What is he gonna do with that?
He's too young to drive.
He's just gonna sit there and look at it. He can't do anything with it.
He can sit in the car and pretend to drive. You know how it is."
Like, I remember doing that as a kid, but it was my parents' car that they could use.
Right.
But this car, wait a minute, I just, do they still get to keep all their items? Like, does that girl still have the flying carpet, just, that she can use, at any time?
I don't know.
I think all of that stuff generally just sort of goes eventually, obviously, because it's all linked to the Jin, isn't it? So...
Yeah.
Right. Or fairy, as it's for some reason called.
Yeah, because
it's definitely
like, is there technically a girl on a flying carpet still flying around?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be weird. Okay.
So yes, you did say that a girl got a flying carpet, and so the Zyurangers are trying to look for the lamp, and so they see the girl flying around in Tokyo on the magic carpet, which I feel like if you're a bystander, you're probably thinking, okay, I probably need to go back to bed because holy cow.
Yeah, someone drinking coffee and going, yeah,
I think I need to go back. So it then cuts to the warehouse where all the dreams come true, playing video game, girls playing video games, somebody's eating a bunch, somebody's reading comic books, and so all of a sudden the Zyurangers show up. And they were found, and so all the kids are like, "No, you can't have Jin," and so they run out, and then Totpat and Bookback are finally there, and they're like, "Hey, give us the lamp back," and so they try and run, and the girl who had the magic carpet tripped and fell. She's like, "Here, take the lamp," and so they keep running off, and I think, so I forgot about this. So the Totpat and Bookback were getting ready to hit the girl, and Jin then turns them into balloons.
Oh, yeah.
For some odd reason, and lets them go. I was like,
so wait a minute, how did they return back from being balloons?
I'm guessing kind of the same way, the magic carpet and all that stuff leaves afterwards.
But they show up again in the episode. Right? So, did I miss something? I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't know if they show up again.
That's weird.
Not 100% sure.
I thought they did.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
Oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. And so they keep running until, oh my gosh, Bandora shows up. Finally, I couldn't think of the name because I'm trying to think of Rita Repulsa. I'm like, no, that's not it. It's
remember
Bandora.
I don't blame you. Yeah, it's really weird having the villains be straight up just dubbed. Because I don't think that hasn't happened again. Well, actually, it has, but with the human villains, that's never happened again. I don't think.
Right.
So
I don't think.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird, like seeing like Witch Bandora and Rita Repulsa, and they're two completely different characters.
Right. And
yeah,
so,
but like, I think with Power Rangers, what they started doing instead was they had the same characters, but there was then someone else, visually appearing as them.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think there's been like a few like. I
know Nadira was one.
Yeah, Nadira is definitely one. I think Viper was possibly one as well. Like they all look similar, but generally they were completely different from what they originally.
I mean, they're same. They're like based off of the same characters, but they're played by an American actor and actress.
That way, when you see them in the stock footage, they pretty much almost look identical anyway. So.
Right. So.
Yeah.
There we go.
So anyway, Bandora shows up and steals the lamp from the kids, and then destroys it.
Yeah, she destroys it. Yeah.
Yeah, she gets it and then destroys it, and so then she leaves to go build herself another lamp, which I don't know why you couldn't have just taken all the pieces, captured it. I don't know why.
Wait a minute. Yeah, why did she destroy the lamp just to build a new? Well, I guess whenever she made the new lamp, she said it had stronger evil powers or whatever, and that's
right.
That's why he looked different whenever he grew large.
It's the idea of it, because obviously if she's the one that creates it, then obviously she's got control over it. Like, it's not like she's expecting the djinn to be like, oh, thanks for a new home, bye. But, so yeah, I think it is one of those things where, it's better for Bandora to sort of create these things, because she knows the influence she can have with what she makes. So she's not particularly worried if he obviously if he goes into it. The idea is that she's completely manipulating whoever she sort of comes across, and she's using her own ability to make that happen. And, she'll have more trust making something herself than relying on the superstitions of something else, which is why, she doesn't really particularly bothered about making a new lamp, because if she can just replicate from the other one that is already existing, there's nothing really that will be a problem for her as much as trying to get that regular lamp. Obviously, at the end of the day, it paid off, because it was a real pain trying to get that lamp for her in the first place.
Oh yeah. So the lamp was broken off into pieces, and the kids were like, "We've got to find the pieces in order to save Jin." And so all the Zyurangers and the children were all looking to find it, and they're like, "I still can't find the last piece. We still can't find it." And so Bandora shows up like, "I have this new lamp now, and now you can work for me." And so Jin then goes in and grows giant, and so they send in oh gosh,
Eye-llusions.
Thank you, Eye-llusions. And so they're getting their butt kicked, and so they're like, we still can't find it. And so Geki is telling everybody like, go help find it. And so they find the last piece, and which I don't know how, like, you have all the pieces together yet it's still broken. Like, does it fix itself automatically? Like, I wasn't 100% sure, because it was just like, oh, it's destroyed. Let's just hold it back together with like no glue or nothing.
Well, yeah, they off camera they stuck it together with a little jus glue, and
jus glue. Buy it today.
Fix it right up.
Yeah. So Jin then returns to his lamp, and so then it cuts to back to the pier, and they're like, do we really have to return Jin to the ocean? And Zyurangers, they're like, yes, we don't want anybody to, like, we don't want any villains taking him. This is for his safety. And so like, oh, we'll put some spell on it to make sure the bad guys don't get it. And so they throw the lamp back in the ocean, and that's really the end of the episode.
No, that's an understatement. They don't just throw it back into the ocean. Like, Geki full on chucks this thing into the Pacific. And it's like, geez. Like, okay, he really wanted to make sure he got rid of that thing. Like, holy cow.
Yep.
It's just me. They're starting to make the ocean a reoccurring thing. We throw these eggs into the ocean. We throw this lamp into the ocean.
Yeah.
For your own safety, bike will throw you into the ocean.
The eggs were an accident. Those weren't supposed to go in the ocean. But yeah. So I mean, what are you guys' overall thoughts on the episode?
I think it was a lot different, obviously, than the Power Rangers episode. Like if I were to give it like generally a rating, it would probably be a 3 though, because there wasn't really a lot going on, sort of like story wise. There was nothing really debuting, but it was a strong episode, and it was one that obviously had a lot of involvement with the kids and. Getting obviously the gym was quite a good, interesting monster because it wasn't originally a Dora Monster created by Bandora. So, it had its moments, but I just think like with that particular episode, it was kind of centered more around the kids than anything else. Yeah. So that's why it just didn't seem as significant. If these kids were reoccurring characters, then I could understand, but. I think it's just one of those episodes where it's like, we'll do something different for a monster rather than spinning out the same thing and then, have it end in a most, this character used, although we're never going to bother.
Yeah,
right. For me, it was very interesting because I was really fascinated with Jin. I really liked the character of Jin. I really like Genie, so... but just the kids, trying to protect it, I thought it was really nice. Though it was not heavily story-based, which, I mean, it was a really good filler episode, in my opinion. I would probably give this 3.5.
Yeah.
3.5.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's nothing crazy. Like, it's nothing, like, too special. But I do like how they kind of changed it up a little bit. Because Zyuranger very quickly gets very stale with its plot. Because it feels like you're just kind of watching the same episode over and over again, but it's just a different rubber suit. Right. So I kind of like how they changed it up again for this one. So yeah, I'd say I'd give it a 3.5. I mean, I think it's still just a normal episode. I mean, there's still like the weird kid subplot like there is with every single episode. I mean, so but I think overall, considering that, I think it was a fairly decent filler episode. So. Yeah, there we go. So that was episode, who knows, 11. My math.
11.
And now we're moving on. Well, I guess actually, if you guys are in the chat, I know if it's a premiere, but if you're in the chat and you want to talk amongst yourself, give your own personal ratings as well. We love to see that kind of stuff. But yeah, moving on now to episode 12, Papa's a Vampire. Bryn, you got this one?
Yeah, so this is a really weird one. So generally the synopsis of it is that Dan protects a girl who becomes caught within a Dora Monster's illusion to think her father's a vampire, so Totpat can suck her blood. So it's a really interesting concept though, because obviously it's got a kid involved, which is generally what Zyuranger is trying to focus upon as the main sort of like victims in the series. Obviously, the Dora Monster was very, as we well know, is Eye Guy from Power Rangers.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that this character, this villain, had more of sort of like concept to it rather than just capturing kids. But yeah, it definitely seems like the villains were sort of being used in this bit better as well. Totpat was obviously had like a goal in mind. The Dora Monster was generally there for his sake, if anything. Like he was obviously he's working for Bandora because he's a Bandora monster. But I think the best parts of this particular episode though is just how the kid wasn't really being believed. The cause of like saying all these superstitious stuff to grown-ups and then get pushed aside, and then Zyuranger getting influenced. Like story-wise, is very good. But obviously, it generally starts off with this tomboy of a girl, really, getting chased. It was just basically like normal day in the park. ends up finding I believe it was Top Hat, wasn't it? Yeah, Top Hat. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you said the name. Yeah. So yeah, obviously the only thing he's thinking about is just drinking blood from humans. That's generally his. I mean, he is a vampire. Like that's basically.
You forget about that. You
forget,
like even in Mighty Morphin, well, first of all, in Mighty Morphin, Squat and Babu had nothing to do. So that's one thing. So we didn't really get to learn anything about them, but in this it seems like we get to see a lot more of Totpat and Bookback in this than in Mighty Morphin, which is interesting. But I think that's mostly due to the fact that Totpat and Bookback are mostly seen with the other civilians and when the Rangers are unmorphed. So or I guess in this not transformed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see those two characters actually featured a lot more heavily. Oddly enough, it seems like Gryffindor is the one that gets barely anything to do in this, whereas in Mighty Morphin, Goldar was the one that was always
everywhere.
Yeah, he was always the one showing up. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think they're kind of more like, obviously in Power Rangers they were like Squat and Babu were basically just evil versions of Bulk and Skull, which was evident when Rita made that joke in season 2. But like, I think with the Goldar essence involved in this, like obviously he's supposed to be more of like a key sort of like figure as like a knight, like a warrior, which is only sit down for battle. Whereas Totpat and Backbug is generally, they're kind of like the ones that are based on desire. Obviously, Totpat is trying to drink blood, and I think Bugback just generally eats anything.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, I think that's what sort of feeds into more of the villainous essence to them, because these two are generally more threats to children, whereas Goldar's counterpart,
Gryffindor,
he's generally more of a threat for the Zyurangers. I think that's what they're trying to get at. Is that what they're planning at?
Okay.
Obviously, this girl is obviously very intuitive, very curious and type, but she's also overly she sees threats everywhere basically. Eventually, she obviously starts seeing finds out about a monster and ends up starting a new case, trying to discover about it. And that's when she gets caught in new Dora Monster. If I can just remember the name, it's the only thing I'm forgetting.
Dora Argus?
Yeah, Dora Argus, that's it. So, yeah. I love how this one is, like, it's most one of the unique properties of this one is obviously it can separate itself into two. As you've probably seen, obviously, in the Power Rangers variation. But, it generally starts off with its ability once once they actually ends up finding it. Puts an illusion, like a kind of spell on her that makes her believe that her father's a vampire, and that's generally the premise of it all. Like, she's trying to get the Zyurangers involved. She's saying, "Oh, it's a monster. My dad's a vampire," but all of that is getting thrown away because no one believes her, and obviously because her father is actually a policeman. So it doesn't help that someone so renowned is obviously getting caught up in the whole sort of like scheme that the Top Hat is actually doing. But obviously the idea is Top Hat is trying to actually get victims. Like, he was already foiled after he was trying to bite someone. He was stopped in his tracks, so he's really annoyed. He's ticked off, and he's basically chosen Michi as his new target, the one he's definitely going to get. And that's why the Dora Monster is involved, because it's all about Top Hat trying to get her to to land into his hands and drink the blood from her. I like how this one actually has like a whole link of things, like uses the weapons. My favorite part generally in this episode is how they're using the tank form of the of the robo, because that generally wasn't seen much. Usually it just goes straight to the robot form. Which obviously in every series and every show, they always go straight to the main form of the all the mechas or robos or other swords just combine. So yeah, it's nice to see that sort of used. But the idea was to blind the Dora Monster before, obviously, they're able to come into a proper fight with it in the Gyojin. But yeah, is there any particular favorite moment that you two had in the episode?
I mean, I liked the idea of, the whole, eye guy or Dora Argus would bring the girl in and then kind of like give her like this like nightmare scenario or whatever of her dad being a vampire, and then that's how Totpat would go and get her, and then she'd be all like freaked out afterwards. I thought that was actually a fairly decent plan.
Yeah, it was.
Because usually like these are the plans that they come up with are kind of ridiculous, but this is a plan that I actually saw like could have worked if Dan hadn't like saved her or whatever. I did think it was weird for Dan all of a sudden to care, because up until this point, Dan just doesn't give a frick about anything. And then now all of a sudden, we need a Dan focus episode, kinda. Even though it's a Dan focused episode, but it's kind of not, and I don't know. But it's like
it did seem to be more. Yeah, it did seem to be more Totpat episode orientated rather than Zyuranger. But it is kind of cool that two characters are getting their focus on in an episode. It's nice to see a villain and a good guy get focused upon in such a way, not necessarily connecting to each other, because Totpat is after the girl and Dan's just protecting the girl, so they're linked in that way. But it's not like they're going, Totpat versus Zyuranger or
I figured I don't know. It feels like a Dan is a weird character for this to be focused on, because I feel like Dan would be a character more well used in like an episode where a lesson is being learned, like whenever Boy gets transported into the tree or whatever by was it King Sphinx, Dora Sphinx?
Dora Sphinx.
And then like I don't know, he didn't really learn a lesson from that, which is kind of annoying. but he felt bad afterwards, I guess. So like something like that where like Dan kind of messes up and then learns from his mistake, because that's kind of something that we've already seen. We didn't see it done well, but we've seen it. So I would kind of like for them to have explored that a little more with Dan's character, because Dan is kind of the character who's just kind of nonchalant about this whole thing. He doesn't really care too much. I mean, he cares, but not as much as the other. He doesn't take it as seriously. And so I feel like that would be a better use of his character than him just randomly deciding that he's going to be the hero now.
Yeah, I think you sort of relate. Sorry, go on, Ian.
I say, I feel like if it was possible to move this into like a later episode, so like you see the development of Dan saying, "Hey, I need to care about this," then I would understand it. But having it this early, whenever he's just like, I don't really want to do it, it just kind of a hit and miss.
Like, I feel like it would have made more sense for it to literally have been anyone else. Like, like anybody besides Dan would have made sense for this to be a focus episode on. But because it's Dan, it's just like, why does he care all of a sudden? Like it's just kind of off. So I mean, I guess overall, well, what does everybody think?
Yeah, I mean, like, it uses different things in it. I love the fact that it's obviously using Zyuranger a lot more of a focus. Having, the forms of the god beasts used was great. But yeah, I think this is more of a stronger 4 because it has kind of character development in it. You have a really good sort of like plot that it significantly focuses on different villains as well as the heroes. But yeah, I think most of Zyuranger obviously is kind of like filling in the middle parts, because there's not, like, obviously with much of the early Super Sentais, they weren't really much into debuting new stuff. Like, it wasn't a huge amount of toy sales. They would have like sections of it, and then they keep doing the show, and then kind of like at the moment how there's like bursts of new stuff every like quarter. But yeah, no, it was cool that Dan was involved. Obviously gets tied into Michi more than anything, rather than wanting to help her. It's kind of more like a duty thing, I think, for Dan. But yeah, Dora Monster was great. Seeing more of Totpat was also really awesome. It always stood out in this mind, this particular episode, especially when you compare it to the Power Rangers counterpart, where there wasn't really much point to Eye Guy. It was just a regular monster. But in this, you see the whole sort of like concept flushed out, and there's so much you learn about different aspects of different people in this particular episode too.
Yeah. Ian?
This was a very interesting episode, mainly because I was not expecting, a huge focus on Totpat, mainly because, I've watched a lot of, Power Rangers. He really hasn't done a whole lot, and so whenever you have a focus episode like this, it really shifted, saying, okay, this is why this is, you have to come in with a new perspective when doing a Sentai season, when comparing it to a Sentai season rather than a Power Ranger season. The episode in general, I really don't know what to say about the episode, mainly because I was just like, okay, so the dad's a vampire. Okay, is the child really going to believe? Okay, the child is going to believe that her dad is a vampire. Okay, how are we going to change that opinion? It was just kind of like, okay.
Well, Dad's like, good news, like,
like, your dad's not a vampire. I'm like, okay, but you really think that she'll believe that? Like, that's the thing.
She did, I guess.
I guess, but like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I also think it's curious how when you look at Babu in Power Rangers, he just seems like an extra villain. He's there for comedy effect.
Yeah.
Like comic relief as a villain. But when you see Totpat in Super Sentai's Zyuranger, my God, he's probably the most scary out of all of them. Really, he seems so diabolical. Like, I don't know about you, but obviously the vampire concept was scary anyway, and that's probably the same in most of Japanese sort of mythology. So I think they put most of the sort of like scary essences that kids know from vampires and focused on that one character. And like, I think that's one of the characters you really don't want to tick off. Like, obviously, Bamboo's counterpart, you tick him off, you can just run, because you don't have to worry about him too much. But it's just he's very malicious. He's full of unnecessary pride, and the fact that he would just happily, mostly kill anyone to like please his appetite is just, as you were aware, like, vampires, scary in general. Super Sentai character that's also a vampire, the extra finesse onto that scariness.
Well, I remember, obviously, I don't know if you could tell by looking at me, but I wasn't born in the 90s. So my first experience with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was the 2010 version. And I remember watching that, believe it or not, as a kid. And yeah,
my heart's
well, that's what I had. And Babu kind of freaked me out a little bit. He was kind of freaky, and then he didn't do anything, so I kind of got over it. But the 2010 version was my experience with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and as a kid it was fine, because you don't really think about that kind of stuff as a kid. But watching it the 2010 version of MMPR as an adult, it's borderline unwatchable. But yeah, no, I remember being kind of freaked by Babu as a kid, and I can imagine if I watched Zyuranger as a kid, I'd be pretty freaked out watching this episode, because like Totpat, he's kind of a freaky dude. So I kind of like seeing more of his character, obviously, because we didn't get to really see that in Mighty Morphin. But I mean, I think the Dan focus is a really weird choice for this. So. Yeah. I feel like maybe, like I said, literally any other character, but especially I think Geki would have worked, because we haven't had a focus episode on him yet, and I don't think that we will until like after the Bryce arc, or at least during the Bryce arc, because obviously those two characters are very connected. So it was an interesting episode. I'm just a little confused on the choice to have it focus on Dan, but I think that's pretty much it for the discussion of episode 12. Papa's a vampire. I'm glad that they still continued the weird names in this season for some of these episodes. I like this. What was the one? What was the one in Jetman that we had a good laugh about? I can't remember.
Was it Sleep on My Chest or whatever?
Yes.
I was like, which one was it? Oh, yep, Sleep on My Chest.
There was a few.
Yep. There was a few.
I think Guy Dies was a good one.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, just throwing it right out there. That's
spoilers.
Great. Yeah. I remember we were getting ready to, it was the episode before we were getting ready to discuss that one. It's because we usually tease what's coming up, and it's I want to say the episode, but I don't think I should.
No. How do you talk about this?
Yeah, I know, but then he died for real in a really stupid way. Anyway, so now we're gonna move on.
You say that it's stupid how obviously he dies in Jetman, but I don't know if you've seen, because obviously we've talked about it in Sentai Wrap Up, Zenkaiger. One of the gear powers for Jetman was the illusion of the sort of drama essence of Jetman, and that scene was replicated by the cast of Jetman, or the characters in replicated by the Zenkaiger and the cast of Zenkaiger, almost to the T. So every single part of that's how they defeat the bad guy. I was portraying Black Condor.
Oh,
so yeah.
I think I would have liked that, because it's making fun of it. I like that kind of stuff. But I mean, considering Jetman was supposed to be taking itself seriously, I thought that was the stupidest. I mean, they just killed him just because it was the last episode. And I understand that the actor wanted to be killed off, but there was a million other better ways that they could have done that. Anyway, this isn't Jetman anymore.
This isn't Jetman.
Yeah, I know.
We've already had this discussion, Bryce.
I'm gonna be complaining about that death scene till I'm off the show. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Anywho. Oh man. Yeah.
We're watching Go-Go 5 and we'll be like, damn, that guy's dying.
We're gonna be we're gonna run out of the Shout Factory seasons, and I'm still gonna be complaining about it. Oh man. No, we're gonna get back to here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna get back to Gokaiger, where he comes back. and then I'm gonna still have a problem with it. Anyway, okay, we're done. No more Jetman. Anyway,
no more Jetman.
Yeah, episode 13, Fire the Golden Arrow. So in this episode, Bandora places May under a sleep spell when she becomes crucial for eliminating a Dora Monster that can keep the witch young. So this is a May-focused episode. This is our first May-focused episode, so that's pretty interesting. And so basically, at the beginning of the episode, this creepy bunny costume person walks up to May and hands her an apple.
Yeah.
Why the hell she accepted the apple is beyond
what?
me.
Yeah.
she accepted it. The bunny handed these apples to a bunch of kids in the area who for some reason like to call May sister. I don't know if that's a Japanese thing that I'm not picking up on or what, but everybody was calling May sister.
What was they saying? Was they saying Oni-chan or?
I don't.
Because obviously there's different sort of there's sort of different honorifics in Japan. Obviously, I'm not an expert, but
sometimes that's my guess is that it's something in Japan that I don't understand, because I have no idea why they would call her sister, because obviously in America, I'm assuming Britain as well, your sister is your sibling that is female. So I don't know if this is just a different way to call someone something.
It's kind of a title. I think
go ahead.
Japan, they're a lot more direct. Obviously, if you see someone as an older sister figure, you won't go, oh, sister, or anything like that. I think with Japan, honorifics such as that, where people are viewed as the senpai or someone who's like a big sister in sort of a way. You know, it's highlighted. It's part of the naming convention. You know, it's because obviously we don't go up to say, you know, you know, Ian Friend or
yeah, friend Ian, yeah,
or Bryce, like, you know, Elder or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things where Japan is always included in honorific,
right.
and any sort of relation is highlighted in context when they're talking to each other too.
Yeah.
So, you know, if they're a big sister figure, then, you know, they're going to be sisters.
Yeah, right. So there we go. Now we know. Well, maybe. I think
You know,
that's a fairly
it all
decent
depends.
explanation,
It's all to do with relations,
Yeah.
and cultural wise as well.
So, trees start growing on the kids' heads. And
What?
and they start turning old. Because that makes sense. And because I guess Bandora's whole plan is to suck the youth out of the kids, and then the monster is going to give the youth to Bandora so she can have eternal youth. So yeah, there's a scene where this kid is lying in his bed, and then he turns into an old man with like raggly hair and like a beard, and is like super weird, and then he just turns into an apple. Yeah, okay. And then I guess May got a different apple. She got a poison apple that kind of takes her into this like nightmare or whatever. And so the Zyurangers have to kind of take her back to, I guess, the base. I don't know what else to call it. But their little wizard dome or something. I don't know.
Their lair.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Their lair, I guess. And Barza gives her like this antidote, I guess. But then she says that the rest is up to her. She has to fight the curse on her own now. And so Dora something or other attacks again. Let's see what Dora Layden comes back, and the Zyurangers decide, like, you know, we gotta defeat him without May, because May. But May, the problem with that is May is the key to doing that, because I guess this is like an ancient villain from her tribe, and the Terra Arrow is the only one that can destroy the apple, which destroys the monster. And so they go fight Dora Layden without May, and they're not doing so hot. And then May is still kind of in her nightmare. And then Barza like prays over May to kind of prays to the, I guess, what were they called, the beast, the ancient beasts, or they have a name, I can't remember. But he prays to the ancient dinosaurs to get May out of this nightmare or whatever. And then butterflies like come up and like fly her out of this pit that she's hanging out of, and then they go back down, and then the butterflies start like burning up for some reason, and then she hears her team calling to her, and then she's like, I gotta help them, and then dives down in. And then that's kind of the last we see of that, and then we cut back to the Zyurangers still being kind of beat up. And then May comes out of nowhere and says like, "Ha, I'm back. You suck." And then like fires the arrow at the apple, and it kind of destroys. And that's it. Like there's no Daijujin fight or anything. That's the end of the episode. There's no extra fanfare or anything. The monster was just done. Bandora didn't even bother. She's like, okay, it's whatever.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with that one. You're good for that. We're not. Yeah, you'd think at this point, you know, fighting something like Daijujin would probably be a bad choice, because, like, I don't know about you, but if a bow and arrow is the only thing that can defeat this monster, what the hell are they gonna do? Because he's only got a sword. Right. So you just lob it.
Yeah. So. But yeah, and then they kind of meet up at the end. The kids come back and say, "Yeah, you did it" or something, and then they all celebrate with a bunch of apples. and then May's like, "Oh," and then Genki takes a bite. He's like, "See, it's good." And and then she's like, "Yay!" and then eats the apple. That's pretty much the end of that episode. So
yeah, nice to show an episode that gives a phobia.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The kids are gonna be scared of eating apples now after watching that episode of Zyuranger. Like, oh my gosh, yeah. I just realized that, like, yeah, like,
I don't want to eat
like,
apples.
I wonder if I watched that as a kid, if I would become scared of apples.
You know what
Yes.
I think is most interesting about Zyuranger though is it's not a dinosaur theme. It's more of a mystical theme.
Yeah.
Like when you consider that the actual Zords they have, or they're god beasts, aren't they? They're not.
Yeah.
They're not like dinosaurs as we know them. They're something they pray. It's something they worship to, and it's also something that helps them if they pray to it. Hence why, obviously, their mentor decided to do such a thing to call upon assistance from May. But I think the strongest thing about this particular show is mythology. Like when you think about all of the Dora monsters that have come up, they're all different like creations throughout all of the throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
You have eventually you're going to have like creatures that you're familiar with, but vampires is one thing that I think is like globally a concept. Even the monster that was facing May today is a monster that has like a proper mythological existence. It's something they draw off of rather than created. But yeah, I think just when you think that they could do all different things, and to think that this dinosaur theme is more of a mystical theme is just mind-boggling. Like it's the dinosaur theme that they're selling toys of.
Yeah.
But generally, it's more of a theme rather than a theme in the show.
Yeah.
Whereas you got stuff like Zyuranger and Kyōryū, where that really focuses on the dinosaur theme more than anything else. Like especially Zyuranger, because obviously it's got more of a dinosaur essence to it. But yeah, it's weird to think that Zyuranger, that first dinosaur season, wasn't actually about dinosaurs.
Yeah, right. Well, it's kind of like Ryū Soldier, where it was more about the knights than it really was about the dinosaurs. I mean, they were kind of dinosaur knights, but they really, I think, leaned more heavily into the knight aspect. Dino Fury is kind of weird with that though. I think because Dino Fury, I do think that they lean more into the dinosaurs, but the story isn't about the dinosaurs. It's kind of like they went back to Mighty Morphin. And it's just kind of about the Rangers' lives, and they happen to have dinosaur powers. So
I think with Dino Fury, unlike obviously Ryū Soldier, they're kind of enveloping the whole Power Rangers concept more than anything else. Go Busters compared to Beast Morphers is a good show of that, because they focus on more of the whole concept of what Power Rangers is and what it was supposed to be and what they're trying to design it to be. Dino Fury follows on from that, so although it's got dinosaurs and stuff involved, it generally is creating a narrative that they're trying to continue following. So obviously having the whole dinosaurs involved, but it's not really about the dinosaurs, it's about stopping the threat that happened to intervene with the dinosaurs. And I think that's similar to what Zyuranger actually is, because although it's not about dinosaurs, it's still got an essence about them and is related to their past, their existence, and obviously that leads on closer to the end about the dinosaurs. But fundamentally, much like Dino Fury, Zyuranger is more about the concept, the fight, the struggle that was involved with those times, rather than the theme itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I definitely see that. It's kind of interesting to see, how far they take the dinosaur subject, because yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of the times they have dinosaurs, but then there's also something else. I think it's gonna be interesting to see where they go with Dino Fury on this, because right now, I mean, they've gone a little bit into the knights and a little bit into the dinosaurs, but they haven't really kind of melded the two together very well, I don't think, yet. So I'm kind of interested to see if they do sort of a similar thing with Dino Fury, and I know that they're going to go a lot more heavy into the actual like Power Rangers mythos as well, especially with the Morphin Masters being there. So that's going to be definitely interesting. Also, Void Knight and that one girl are definitely Amelia's parents. Don't at me. Anyway, anywho, so I'm just saying she's been living with her grandpa the whole time. Her parents went missing. I'm just saying. So. Yeah. So I have no insider information. This is just a speculation. Anyway,
one thing I actually want to say quickly while we're here, because I've always been a fan of gimmicks, as well as like the whole themes related to them. Do you think they could have gone further with the whole sort of Dino Buckler concept? Because when you think about it, there was easily a way they could easily make different coins and stuff related to everything you see in the show.
Right.
Because you could have the coins inserted. You obviously had the Tyrannocoin, Mastodon. Do you think there's something they could have extended of that, or had the idea to extend with that?
I mean, for sure. I mean, if Zyuranger came out in 2021, I guarantee you there would be 20 of those coins. Like, you know, like for sure. I mean, and there would be a lot more Zords. But I mean, I think, you know, it's just at the time that wasn't something they focused on, but nowadays in Power Rangers as well as Super Sentai, especially Super Sentai, they heavily focus on the collectibles, because right now in Zenkaiger it's the gears, and Kyōranger it was the Kyutama, and Gokaiger it was the keys. So I mean even with Power Rangers has adopted that to where in Beast Morphers they didn't have a collectible, so Hasbro made one with the keys. So I mean it's just kind of what they do today. So I think if Zyuranger came out today, I mean there'd be like 20 different power coins or dino coins.
Also, when you think about it, apart from Ranger, how many seasons of Super Sentai before them ever had a gimmick or a changer that actually had representation of individuals? Because most of the stuff, even after Zyuranger, especially going on to like Ranger and apart from obviously Kaku Ranger, which I'm currently watching at the moment, but they don't actually have a gimmick or any concept that specifically focuses on one or individual people. Like even say the O-Ranger brace, like that is just one thing. There's no different lights. Obviously, the Power Rangers version that came out in the Legacy line, that actually had different colors for the light. But other than that, you know, there's no other concept or toy that was released that really focused on a changer that significantly had different forms for each Ranger.
That's true. I think oddly, like Zyuranger inadvertently started a lot of things that has continued on since then, even though Zyuranger wasn't necessarily supposed to be that for Super Sentai. I mean, they introduced the Sixth Ranger, they introduced, like you said, I never even thought of that, the individuality with their different coins and stuff like that. So yeah, that's honestly, I never really thought of that. And obviously with Power Rangers, it was the first season, so for us that's always been there. But at least
we went above and beyond with that, though, didn't we? We've got new coins keep being made now.
So
like we had, like, even before we went into the Legacy line, we had the Ninjetti coins anyway. Those were a significant thing. And then later on down the line, we've now got Lord Drakkon, we've got
Ryu,
we've even got like
Chun-Li.
different we've got different sort of like coins for Street Fighter. We've got coins that are being made for the Master Morpher concept. That's it's one of those things where it's like, did they really think that they were going to do something more of this, or are they planning something more for this, or do they just sort of leave it and just be I don't think
Toei back in 1992 went, you know what I want to do in 2018? Make a coin for Ryu from Street Fighter. You know, I don't know, Ian. I mean, what are your kind of thoughts on sort of Zyuranger kind of starting all this stuff?
For me, like, it's really weird to see it because, you know, you start watching these episodes, you're like, how did this turn into Power Rangers that it is today, because it doesn't look like it at first. And so then you guys talk about individuality, the Sixth Ranger. I mean, and then a lot of firsts for this in this series, and then you start to realize, even though this is not the best show, not the best Super Sentai show, but it did start off, the catalyst. This was, the first block that built into kind of the growth of Power Rangers and Super Sentai as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see how they turned this super mythological show featuring Jimmy and Jane to giant rubber monsters meet Saved by the Bell. So so it is. I will say this. I don't think that Zyuranger is going to be anywhere near my favorite Sentai season once it's all said and done. But it is really cool to see, where it all started, how we got there, and how honestly very different it is from the American counterpart. It's really cool to see. But I think that kind of wraps up this episode of Retro Sentai Wrap Up. Thank you all so much for watching and tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this with Ian and Bryn. Ian's back, and we finally have Bryn here. We've been trying to get him here since episode 1. We got him. So
damn UK time zones.
So yeah. So
I'm usually conscious round about this time.
Yeah. So we'll try to figure something out. But thank you all so much for watching. I don't know what next week's episode is going to be. We might have to do pre-recorded again as well, because like I said, Ian and I are moving. We're going to be roommates. What? That's crazy. With 2 other guys in this small little apartment.
Yeah. Smell the testosterone already.
Yeah. So that's gonna be great, I'm sure. And then I'm not sure what Blackwing's gonna be doing next week, but and then Bryn will be in bed. So so we'll see. We'll see. We might be doing pre-recorded again next week. I don't quite know for sure.
Yeah.
But regardless, thank you all so much for watching the Retro Sentai Wrap Up. Be sure to subscribe to the Illuminerdi, turn on post notifications, be notified of everything coming onto the channel. We got shows for almost everybody, so definitely stay tuned for all of that.
And watch Sentai Wrap Up.
Yeah, and watch Retro Sentai Wrap Up. Thank you all so much for watching.
Come on, Senkai's getting us, Sam.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Watch Sentai Wrap Up with Senkaiser. That's starring Bryn and Heirloom. So that's pretty awesome. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. And remember, here at the Illuminerdi, we're always watching. Take care, everybody.